puzzle games are very, very varied in many aspects. Obviously, they can be third-person puzzlers, they can be 2D puzzlers, they can just literally be a puzzle game where you build a puzzle with puzzle pieces. But I'm like the puzzle guy. I'm very good at them. I'm very well known, and I've played a wide variety of puzzles. Obviously, we've got Into the Core, which is like a free-to-play gravity bending puzzle game. It's alright. It's a bit messy and broken in times, but it's free, so what can you expect? So it could have been better, but it's also just it's free. Then you got The Almost Gone, which is an interesting puzzle narrative where you try and twist the world around and find the different parts to try and essentially escape room challenges in a weird way. But yeah, it was interesting, quirky puzzles that you have to try and solve and try and find your way through with a cool narrative. £9. It was pretty interesting. It took me 2 hours to get through. It provided some challenge over the 5 different chapters. Very minimalistic, reminds me of like the Red Room and the Orange Room and things like that, which were like old online sort of things in a very similar style. And you got the Fold Apart, which is literally you fold up the levels, twist them around like a piece of paper, and you're trying to make your way through the levels by manipulating the levels and twisting them around, turning them upside down and dropping your character off. Very, very, very unique concept, cool storyline, very colourful, pretty interesting. £15.49, sorry. It took me 2.5 hours, but it's pretty cool and pretty colourful. So, I'd recommend it. I'd like to see more from it. I was a bit disappointed with how short it was, but it's still a fun, good time, and interesting challenges, interesting concepts. So it's still recommended. Portal, again, what more do I need to say? It's Portal. Just get it. It's a really, really interesting, the first of its third-person puzzle genre. It was groundbreaking. It's immense. I've also spoken about Metamorphosis in one of the other videos already, where you become a bug. Interesting way of traversing the world, interesting puzzles. You can climb up the walls, you shrink down, and you find all the stuff in the world. Speaking insect speak. No, you find all of the different things that are hidden under, like the carpet and things like that. So it's interesting world. I'm struggling to describe it. Ames Odyssey. Obviously, I played the original, very platformer based puzzle. But obviously there's some interesting challenges. They've obviously updated it to great standards with the graphics. Still very authentic in how some of the levels were, still challenging. Very, very, very cool, very worthwhile. Tokitori 2. Obviously this was a very different kind of puzzle. This is like, again, platformer. Very roguelike. But the interesting thing about how this roguelike works, you don't ever gain the powers. What you do is you gain the knowledge of how to do things in the world. So if you go down certain paths, you'll discover, oh, you can do this thing to do that. And then by realizing that, you'll know how to then go past other obstacles you could go before. So you will always have had the power within you to have gone the different paths. It's just whether you know how to do certain things. And you do learn some bird calls, but again, things that you could have used at any time. So it's an interesting twist on it, and it's pretty good. Definitely recommended. Clocker, again, time manipulation puzzle. It's based on cutout characters. They look like cutout artwork of hand-drawn pieces, but yeah, you've got 2 worlds. There's your overworld with the girl, and then the underworld of the dads, and you manipulate everything with the dad at first to try and solve the levels and get through, and then you play through the girl to see the lasting consequences of how the world happens. There's a lot of twisting of realities, and you see how you can do things, and how maybe you should have changed things, and you can obviously then manipulate things without spoiling too much. It could either be a looping cycle, or you might solve the world and solve things. So yeah, it's interesting. It's £2.32. Pretty cheap on discount, honestly. And it's a good time. It's fun, interesting puzzles, and seeing how you manipulate things. Obviously, as the dad, you can progress certain characters to get to other areas, and then they interact differently depending on where you've left them. And it's a very unique and very cool concept. I almost said cosmos because of osmos. This is a casual puzzle game where obviously you are the bubble, you're trying to absorb all the other bubbles in the levels. Like it's the IO, but before its time. And very casual, very cool. You obviously spit out bits of yourself to move, and very challenging. Leroy, again, we've gone over on the casual games. Very short puzzles over one screen worlds, interesting, casual fun. Railed, you're building trains with pieces that you get given. So you build the train tracks from the pieces you get given. You're trying to complete the tracks to maximize your score. Interesting, cheap puzzle game. Obviously it's mixed, but it's pretty cheap, for £1.69. Like it's actually reasonable price for what you're getting. So I don't know why it's so mixed. Teslagrads, puzzle, platformer, roguelike adventure. Pretty fun, pretty cheap, pretty good. I'd recommend it. Minstrel Broadcast, platformer puzzler. Interesting storyline. Again, we've covered it in other things, so talking about it over and over again. Puzzle platformer, again, I've already gone over. Very fun, very fun. Took me around 5 hours to complete. I don't know why there's no price for it anymore. Recommend it. It's award winning. It's got some interesting and fun puzzles. Shape of the World, you got a 6-sided cube that you twist around and you're trying to find your way around. You can jump between different cubes on some levels. It's all about a 6-sided dice essentially that you're trying to make your way through and solve the puzzles of. Pretty cheap, pretty fun. Obviously you're literally twisting the Rubik's Cube of the world and teleporting around. Human Fall Flat. Again, they keep adding a lot more to it and a lot more levels, a lot more stuff. $15.99, quirky physics platformer puzzler, pretty interesting. Torkel, pretty cheap, pretty standard, but also very unusual. Like you twist out bits of your shape thing, your box, to fling yourself around the levels and to manipulate yourself around the levels and to avoid dying. Very fun. There's a lot of different paths. There's interesting stuff. It says there's 7 basic routes. For $4.99, for $3.99, it's pretty fun, pretty interesting. Portal 2 again, highly recommended. Third-person puzzler, just get it. Raid, very, very well-known, award-winning time manipulation puzzler with bosses and time travel working in different ways. Again, we've covered this in different videos. Very recommended. Polarity. This one had a lot of potential. But they didn't live up to it. The fact that you can't reset the rooms when you mess up things and you're trying to dunk the cube in an awkward throw and you just have to exit out and relive into the game could have been good, but they screwed it. It's mostly positive. Maybe they've fixed things since then, but the fact that you can't reset the puzzles when they it screws up, it's like throw this over a pit into this hole. It's just very annoying, and I'm like, no. That point. So Divided by Sheep, literally puzzle, the most puzzly of puzzles. You've got a number of sheep on the island. You're trying to literally get the right amount into the boat, so you have to either kill them in certain ways and do division, literally sometimes chopping the sheep in half to get the correct amount to the boat, or to feed the doggos to stop them eating other ones, or you throw them on the island to make some of them fall off because the islands aren't big enough. It's an interesting concept. Pretty cheap, pretty fun. Just go literally in half at times. You're making triangles to traverse around the areas. You're running up walls. Lots of gravity twisting. Lots of building your own sorts of areas to traverse. Pretty fun. Black Hole. Indelacio award winning. It's very, very cheap. Lots of levels, gravity bending, mind twisting, lots of challenges, humongous game, lots of worlds, and just so cheap. The physics are so well done. There's a cool storyline. Highly recommend it. Just you should definitely own that. Thinker 2, very minimalistic puzzles. Again, you're grabbing the balls, you're pulling them to the bits. Very casual that you can just play it. Ticket to Ride, literally a board game, literally the board game Ticket to Ride, but with online multiplayer. And you know, if you enjoy that, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. It's like literally a puzzle. I don't know. Do you call board games puzzles? This one's like a programming sort of puzzle. So you've got to have programming knowledge, or it'll teach you programming knowledge, and then you program your person to do the different challenges to progress. Obviously, some involving maths, some involving letters, and you know you need to two things. They'll unlock more things that you can do and unlock more complicated things as you progress forwards. And then there are challenges within that to complete. So yeah, it's interesting. And it teaches you some stuff along the way. From the same people comes World of Goo, which is more of a build bridges sort of puzzle. You know, it's cool physics, interesting, quirky storyline, very fun, very challenging to not kill all of your blobs you goo. But yeah, it's cool, and I enjoyed that so much, which is why I wanted that, because you know, like from the same developers, it was so interesting. Then you've got MC Escher styled mind-bending puzzles in like a hand-drawn sort of quirky, impossible way, with impossible-ish looking levels. They're not impossible, but you know, they're meant to be MC Escher impossible-based levels for the story. But you know, you can see how they work. You can see how the world bends around it, and you've got to try and do certain things to get to the exit, like take the key to the certain doors and not get squished along the way, and then leave through the door. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cheap, pretty fun. Echo Worm, very casual. We've done through all of these on different videos. Overpatch, again, match 3. Standpoint, challenging, interesting, gravity bending with the 5 stages of depression and, you know, 5 stages of grief. It's interesting. It's interesting, but one of the levels was broken later on. I'd maybe still recommend it, but the fact that they broke the game, like one of the levels just didn't work, and you can never progress further than that, got annoying for me, so I never did it. But other than that, you know, I'd recommend it. But yeah, puzzle games. I'm huge puzzle game guy. I'm really good at them. So I obviously had to include this on my creator page.